My name is Mark. This is Zen Talk. The topic is Zen Iconoclast. The Age of Heretics. Often, religious doctrine comes into question as to the relevancy of it when the teachers of the doctrine fail to properly explain and teach it correctly. Further, when religious doctrine is allowed to be professed by non-sanctioned persons, the doctrine then becomes corrupted and then criticized often to mean something it never was. The heretics rise out of the confusion to inject their desires of what the doctrine should be and ignores as to what it actually means. Spurious teachings. Authentic Buddhism, as stated by the doctrine, is very specific as to the metaphysical positions, the practices, and the rules disciples must adhere to. There may be some interpretational differences, however, the core of the metaphysics and practices are not in dispute. Diluted Buddhism, or what many call latter-day Buddhism, is mostly what most of us know as Buddhism today. Many claim that because of the modern culture and condition, that to practice the authentic Buddhism is not possible, so therefore a diluted Buddhism is preached and practiced. Cults. Cults are a culture within a culture, and come in two types, benign and destructive. A benign cult is like your local church, where there is a church culture with its own beliefs and customs, within the greater mainstream culture, where the cult attempts to help make you a better person within the mainstream culture. A destructive cult is one that isolates the person from the mainstream culture, often declaring it evil, and declares the culture of the cult to be the true and correct culture that the people must follow in order for salvation. Politics. It needs to be said that the politics of the mainstream culture does indeed greatly affect the churches and what they preach. As politics moves from right to left and then back again, what is preached and declared as righteous practice greatly changes to match the political winds. Though many Buddhist preachers claim to be apolitical, evidence shows the contrary, and where current students stop coming and no students are enrolled, where the teachings are bucking against local political trends. Because all Western Dharma centers are a business plan, the teachers are faced with the dilemma to either accept the closure of their businesses or to adapt to the changes and conform to the local political trends. Patriarchy. Buddhism in doctrine from the Pali and Sanskrit Buddhist canon is a patriarchal, hierarchical, and aristocratic in nature. This is not my opinion, this is fact right out of the Buddhist canon. Women in Buddhism take a subordinate role to men. However, this is only within the ecclesiastical Sangha, or the Church of Buddha, as prescribed by the Buddhist canon. Though Buddhism recognizes that women can attain enlightenment, arhatship, and eventually full Buddhahood. Western Buddhism, especially Western Zen, sets aside the patriarchy, creating its own branch of a later-day Buddhism, and creating its own Tripitaka of New Dharma text based upon the founders of Western Buddhism. Again, this is not my opinion, this is simply a fact of what is. The criticisms of classical patriarchy, of inclusion and fairness, is soundly understood within an ecclesiastical context. Yet when the same criticism comes towards spiritual attainments where the students want recognition for when they feel they have attained, creates a political Marxist atmosphere in where everyone is now Buddha and whatever anyone says is Dharma, or there is no enlightenment, no Buddhahood, and Zen Buddhism is just an outpatient psychological clinic that uses meditation as therapy. I am the Buddha nature. One of the core tenets of Buddhism is that all sentient beings have Buddha nature, and that being the potential to be a Buddha. This then gets altered to all living beings have the potential of Buddhahood. Then this gets politicized as all things are Buddha nature and all living things are Buddha. This then creates an atmosphere where whatever a person deems as Buddhist becomes such because everything is Buddhist and everyone is a Buddha. In such an environment, the only outcome is the dissolution of the Dharma and the abandonment of the quest of Buddhahood in favor of a current social and political secular humanist trends. Secular Buddhism. The secularization of religion is when spiritual values are abandoned in favor of the current social and political trends and non-religious values of secularism. Secular Buddhism, and what is also termed as cultural Marxism in the Western Dharma centers, is definitely under the auspices of spurious teachings, that being a false Buddhism as per doctrine. This is not to say that such secular preachers and those institutions that embrace secularism are evil or bad people. Rather, it's only a classification, but more so of the admitted fact that Western society is not yet ready to listen and to accept doctrinal Buddhism. The Pure Land. Is there a stepping stone to Buddhism? Yes, it is the Pure Land view. This is a quote. Then the Buddha Sakyamuni explained to the elder Shariputra, to the far west of this world of delusion, beyond as many as 10 trillion Buddha worlds, there's another world called ultimate bliss, with a Buddha whose name is Amitabha, who is there even now teaching the Dharma. Through the faith in Amitabha Buddha, who is the cosmic Buddha of time and space, the study of Buddha's core teachings, and the maintaining of an honorable life, upon the death of this body, one is taken to the land of ultimate bliss. And as a note, the Norse religious teachings are nearly identical to the Pure Land faith, where the honored dead are taken to Valhalla. So in this particular slide, I am just kind of promoting that the Pure Land view may be a stepping stone, as we see here, to Buddhism, in where we in the West are just not ready for doctrinal Buddhism. So some conclusions. Zen is the most expedient means towards enlightenment. However, it is a difficult path that requires the adept to be already grounded in the fundamentals of Buddhism and be sincerely committed to undertake this path in its monastic form, without the relinquishment of the worldly life, becoming the bhikkhu or the bhikkhuni, as in a retreat or an monastic period of study. Casual Zen for the newbie then becomes nothing more than a frustrating and unworkable practice, leaving the adept worse off than when they started. In Japan, Zen temples serve the Japanese laity with Pure Land services. Zen priests are known to also minister at Pure Land temples and teach Buddhist core basics at the Pure Land churches. So in Japan, the priests serve more than just the Zen temple community. They serve the Japanese in a greater role as spiritual guidance and teacher. So it is my humble opinion that here in the West, the establishment of a truly Western Buddhism based on a Pure Land theology that cultivates the laity is absolutely vital, and for Zen to act as the monastic arm of Western Buddhism. And we kind of got a little bit backwards here in the West, where we have brought in the monastic arm without bringing in any of the laity practices to build it upon. So this is a bit of an issue. To just sum up everything that I'm saying, the Buddhism that comes from Asia is extremely conservative by nature. It is a patriarchy. It is hierarchical. And it is also based on an aristocratic point of view, more like the noble warriors. When we bring over the Buddha Sutras, we're bringing over that entire doctrinal view of existence. Many people who study and read Buddhism it is undeniable of the things that I have just said. These are not opinions that Buddhism is this way. It is a fact that is the way it is. Many people who become interested in Buddhism more as in its spiritual aspects and spiritual attainments, or potential spiritual attainments, become disillusioned when they start running into the teachings of the Buddha that are not inclusive, that are sexist, that are definitely a patriarchy and hierarchical. And when they find Zen with its extreme patriarchy, its master-disciple relationship, and the fact that it's kind of a closed-loop system, this presents a number of challenges for people, and some of these challenges brings up people's anger and ire over the issues here. This is not something that is unnoticed, and it's something that I think it's definitely worthy to have the discussion of the inclusiveness. People want Zen to be equal. They want Zen to be inclusive. They want it to be fair. And there have been a lot of questions about that. And the closed loop system that Zen currently has brought up a lot of problems, has been ripe for abuse. Many, many times, a lot of the criticisms and accusation laid at Zen is true. There's what people say about the patriarchal system, about the apparent unfairness, the apparent non-inclusion of certain kinds of people. Many people go to college and they take Buddhist studies, and they graduate the colleges of liberal arts with a Buddhist study program, and then they feel that this should be given them the credentials to become a Buddhist priest or a Buddhist minister. And when they go to the Buddhist temples or the Zen centers, they find that they are bucking up against a closed-loop system, a patriarchal, hierarchical, and aristocratic culture that they just cannot show up with their college degree in hand and say, hey, I want to be an associate minister. This is something that is done in a Christian church, although when people become a Christian reject and then they go research Buddhism, and then when they find out the cold hard facts about what has happened, this kind of pisses them off. So they would start leveling accusations of racism, sexism, intolerance, even claims of white superiority at those that are in the Dharma centers. They will lob these accusations at them like bombs to try to make a case for themselves. And they will attack the very sutras and the very words of the Buddha that are right out of the Nikayas and the sutras that are handed down to us through our lineages. And these very same people that become Buddhist scholars through the colleges become anti-Buddhist and anti-Dharma in their attempts to be accepted. And what ends up poorly happening is that they're accepted by nobody. Though I agree that the conversation about Buddhism in the West definitely has to happen, I now have come to the conclusion that we here in the West would probably be better served to establish a more Pure Land or Land of Bliss view for a laity version that would promote the cosmic Buddha and, of course, the teachings of the Buddha and a righteous life, where that would definitely give place for the Buddha study college graduate to come to fulfill an associate minister's position, to counsel and work with people of all walks of life where everybody is included, where everybody is welcome, regardless of race, sexual orientation, identification, previous religions, current religions, doesn't matter. And I think that would be the first logical step, rather than trying to break down the doors of these already established patriarchal systems in where nothing's going to change. This would be trying to go bash down the gates of the Vatican and insisting that, we should have a woman pope and gender-neutral words be replaced in the Bible. That ain't gonna happen. So my only view at this point is that we need to have a more realistic view, maybe a stepping stone for most people. And this requires a lot of work, which requires to actually build Buddhist centers, to go find funding, to recruit. It's not realistic to just show up and expect these things to be handed to you, because nobody's going to do that. All right, so that's my conclusion. That's my just sort of final thoughts on this issue. I know there's a lot of very heated and emotional politics, within the Buddhist Dharma centers and the Zen centers. And there's been a lot of discussion about equality and fairness and inclusion, which has not been there, in my opinion, for a very long time. But it has to be done, I believe, in a different location. I don't think we can just bash down the doors of these centers and demand it. I think we need to build a stepping stone. We need to build a different kind of Dharma center and a Buddhism that is, I would say, more of the Pure Land Buddhism. All right, thank you very much, and please remember to like and subscribe.